Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're doing well. You're kind of spoilt for choice this weekend with heavyweight boxing because the Tyson Fury Francis Ngannou Circus Act has got quite a few heavyweight bouts that are really quite intriguing. I've done a couple of videos on a couple of them. But over in Mexico on October the 28th, which is Saturday, which means it will probably be early hours of Sunday for us in the UK, there is a very intriguing fight between the Australian Justis Huni and Andrew Tabiti. Now, Tabiti has already had 21 fights in his career. He turned pro in 2013. He's currently 20 wins with 16 KOs and 1 stoppage defeat. Whereas Justis Huni didn't turn pro until 2020 and has only had 7 fights. Both these guys haven't been that active of recent years anyway, because if you look at Andrew Tabiti's record, the only defeat on his record was against Uriel Dorticos, and that was in 2019. And since then, he's only had 3 fights. He had 2 in 2022 and 1 in 2021, and he hasn't really torn up any trees. Now, he's a former cruiserweight. When he got knocked out by Dorticos, it was in the 10th round. It was for the IBF World Cruiserweight title. And he campaigned until very recently at cruiserweight. I'm not sure how old he is. I looked up on BoxRec before I did this video, and it didn't have his age listed. But if you look at his dimensions, I mean, it suggests that he's still a cruiserweight, kind of posing as a heavyweight. He's 6'1". I think it's a 76 or 77 inch reach, whereas Justis Huni, the Australian, 6'4". I don't know what his reach is, it didn't say, but definitely he is the natural heavyweight. I mean, he's a natural sort of 235, 240 pounder, whereas Tabiti is really, like I say, a cruiserweight who could probably still get down to that weight, but chooses not to. Maybe it's a lack of discipline, maybe he just fancies his chances at heavyweight. Maybe he can't get any gigs at cruiserweight, so he moves up to heavyweight thinking, well, maybe I'll get paid more there. I don't know what the situation is exactly. But if you look at Justis Huni, now I don't follow amateur boxing religiously, so I'm not the person to ask about it. But several people have told me he was a very good amateur, and in fact he holds a win over Fraser Clark in the amateurs. Like I say, he turned pro in 2020, but I believe injuries have kept him out for periods of time. He should really have made more progress. He did have 2 fights in 2022. He hasn't fought this year, same as Tabiti. And you know, he won a couple of unanimous 10-round decisions against Joseph Goodall and another guy whose name I can't remember. I think I don't remember. I think he might be a Maori guy or something like that. Anyway. But he was fancied to sort of make a splash in the international heavyweight scene. He actually won the Australian heavyweight title in his very first professional fight. And as we know, Australian boxing is absolutely flying at the moment. Jay Opetaia is leading the charge. You've got George Kambosos is still relevant, you know, still fighting at lightweight, trying to regain a little bit of that Teofimo Lopez glory that he had. But I'm a big Kambosos fan. He had the guts to take on Devin Haney twice in Australia. No shame in losing if you take on the best. He definitely is someone that wants to prove himself. You've got Tim Tszyu, who's really beginning to look the part. Very, very good. In the women's game, you've got, you know, Ebony Bridges and Sky Nicholson's coming through. So Australian boxing has a real buzz around it. And again, I think Kambosos deserves a lot of credit for sort of, you know, putting Australia back on the boxing map, and perhaps paving the way for the likes of Tszyu and Opetaia and some of the women's fighters. But nevertheless, Huni, as good as he is, the activity isn't good. He hasn't fought this year. Neither is Tabiti. Tabiti has got some good wins. You know, he stopped Latif Coyote in 6 rounds, which I thought was very good. He won a unanimous decision over Steve Cunningham. But we're going back 5-6 years for these good wins, and he hasn't done anything lately. So I really think this is a fight where size is going to matter. I do think Tabiti is a talented guy, he's probably underachieved in his career because I think he's yet to win a world title, a belt of any sort. Whereas Huni, much fresher, he's only 24 years old, Justis Huni. Much naturally bigger, good amateur pedigree, although Tabiti was okay as well. But I think in this fight it will be a case of Tabiti will come out being aggressive, trying to. I think this is a 10-rounder. Don't quote me on that. There might be one of those poxy belts on the line, but I think this is a 10-rounder. And I think Tabiti will probably try and start early. He is heavy-handed, 16 KOs in 20 wins. I think he'll try and put it on Huni, storm forward, make the shorter height an advantage by crouching even lower. Will probably try bang into the body. I think that's his best tactic, his best chance of victory is to try and steal a lot of the early rounds, try and keep Huni honest, make him think about what's coming at him rather than what he's going to fire back. And I think for the first half of the fight, we could see Tabiti, say after 5 rounds, probably maybe 3-2 up. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But I think Huni's natural size and strength will pay dividends. I think this is a fight where size definitely matters if you look at the styles. And I think eventually Huni will start to box a bit more, use his jab a lot. He has got a very good jab. Fire a few combinations, start firing combinations, sort of around about 4 rounds, 4-5, that, middle rounds. And then I think he'll find his rhythm. And eventually, as Tabiti slows down and tires, I think we'll see Huni taking over. And I think this is a 10-rounder. Is it a 12-rounder? I could be wrong. I think it's a 10-rounder. But if it's a 12-rounder, I think Huni stops him. I think Huni will probably stop Tabiti between the 8th and the 10th. If it's a 10-rounder, it's possible Tabiti could go the distance, but I'm still going to pick a late stoppage in the last sort of third or quarter of the fight for Justis Huni. I think Tabiti will just be forced to work too hard. He doesn't really. There have been occasions when you worry about his work ethic. He doesn't necessarily come in optimum shape in the past, Tabiti. So I think Huni at heavyweight, he's untested, Tabiti. So is Huni to some extent. But I think just because of the natural size, the fact that Huni is much younger, the fact that he's fresher, this is a great test for Justis Huni, no doubt about it. I mean, no disrespect to Tabiti, but I just see Huni perhaps outlasting Tabiti and stopping him. I'll split the difference between 8 and 10. I'll go with round 9. How about that? I'll go with round 9. But I do think it will be a late stoppage for Justis Huni, and he will move to 8 wins, no draws, no defeats, and it will be just a second career defeat for Tabiti. But Tabiti, if he can make cruiserweight, he should go back down. I've read things and heard from other people he can be a lazy sod. You're not going to get anywhere. You can't cut corners in this game. You've got to be a dedicated person who lives the life. Justis Huni seems to have that, but Tabiti not really. Anyway, this fight is. Now I want to remind you about something else as well. We've had several, in fact more than several, quite a few cards, especially shown on DAZN. And very often they are Golden Boy cards. I don't know what this one is. It might even be a Matchroom one. I think Huni's got something to do with Matchroom. He's been signed to Matchroom or co-signed or something. But very often these Mexican cards are hidden away, and there are lots of great fights on these cards. And this one, I believe it's on DAZN. DAZN very often show a lot of these cards, Matchroom and Golden Boy cards from Mexico. But make sure you check it out, because I'll bet you this isn't going to be the only good fight on that card. You should really pay attention to these Mexican cards, because, they're fantastic. There was one last weekend that was absolutely brilliant. So, make sure you check it out. Don't want to miss out on any good boxing. Again, my prediction, Justis Huni to stop Tabiti late. What is your prediction? Leave your comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the subscribe button. It only takes a little second, doesn't it? And also the like, because they count the likes apparently. And as always, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I love doing the videos, and I love reading your comments. And I'll catch you later. So bye for now.